It is with great honor and truly a pleasure to introduce Dr. Ron Ponder as distinguished inaugural member of the Rankin College Business Hall of Fame at Southern Arkansas University. Ron and I went to school in Junction City, Arkansas together. Both of us ran track. I was a little faster than he was, but he lasted longer than I did. I did the sprints, and he did the quarter mile and also the mile relay. We had no track in Junction City, so we ran around and up and down the football field. So it was always a very special occasion when we had a chance to go to the big town. And in South Arkansas, the big town is El Dorado. We actually surprised the El Dorado boys and ourselves by consistently winning events up in El Dorado, much to their chagrin, I would imagine. We were also in the Boy Scouts together, Troop 22. Ron reminded me that since we had both lost our fathers at an early age, we used to sit together at the father and son events. Ron later transferred right here to Magnolia, ran track here, and graduated in 1961. Born in El Dorado, Ron and his mother moved back to Weston, Arkansas to be close to family. Some of you may know Weston is kind of just a little bit south of El Dorado, a little bit northwest of Junction City, very small community. There he fell under the influence of his grandfather, Mr. Bill Cameron, who was a merchant in Weston. Ron was keeping the books, paying the workers, managing trucks, and anything else that was assigned by his grandfather, Mr. Cameron. He found out that he loved the business of commerce. And this is where it all started, he told me recently. In fact, both his grandfather and my grandfather provided father figures in our lives. Our grandfathers were also great friends. God provides. Ron earned his BBA right here at Southern State College in 1965. By the way, while here, he studied under Professor Louis Blanchard, who is being honored here today. He then went on to Louisiana Tech for an MBA. Then he completed a Doctor of Business degree from Mississippi State University. The college teaching career seemed like the obvious choice for Ron at that particular point in his life. So he went to Memphis State University and was on the faculty there for 5 years. But life was getting ready to take a turn. There in Memphis, he was invited to a barbecue by a friend of his who was a pilot for the fledgling Federal Express business in Memphis. During the evening, Ron was introduced by his friend to a gentleman by the name of Fred Smith, who just happened to be the founder and CEO of FedEx. During their visit, Fred asked Ron, "Now tell me, son, just what is it that you do?" Ron told him he was a professor at Memphis State University. He also told him he had a degree in operations research and computer science. Ron obviously made an impression, and his field of study made an impression. As it wasn't long before Fred Smith called Ron and offered him an opportunity to do consulting work with FedEx. Several years later, he was offered a full-time position, rose to the position of Senior Vice President and Chief Information Officer at FedEx. While there, he was instrumental in developing the famous FedEx tracking system, and also worked with the Cessna Aircraft Company in modifying the Cessna Caravan, which is the 208B, for a larger cargo pod that is still used today by FedEx to serve smaller cities around the country. And while he was there, Ron actually had to learn to fly since he was at FedEx. Ron was instrumental in implementing quality programs, leading the company to receive the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award in 1990. From 1991 to 1993, he served as Executive Vice President and CIO of U.S. Sprint with headquarters in Kansas. By the way, he worked with Ron LeMay there. But then he was wooed away in 1993 to become Vice President and worldwide CIO at AT&T. At AT&T, he was all set to be in charge of roughly 1/3 of the company and 66,000 employees. But a little event delayed that a little bit. Interesting, when Ron left U.S. Sprint, he and Carol, his wife, decided to go to Florida to take a month off between jobs. While he was there, he received a call from AT&T. Ron, where are you? Well, I'm in Florida. Good, stay there. Turned out that U.S. Sprint had issued and obtained an injunction to prevent him from going to AT&T. But he was only good in Kansas. So he could not go back to Kansas. He did not get to go back and say goodbye to any of his employees. Carol had to go back, sell the house, make all the preparations for the move to New Jersey. By the way, he said it was many, many, many years before he went back to Kansas. While at AT&T, Ron was instrumental in the transformation of the entire information systems organization at AT&T. He assisted in much of the planning and divestiture spin-off events that soon created new companies. In 1996, he followed AT&T with a position of president and CIO of BDSI Consulting, which was later acquired by Capgemini Group, where he remained until 2002. Again, approached for a change, he became the executive vice president, CIO of the giant healthcare WellPoint in California. In 1995, he was named by CIO magazine as one of the 12 most influential technology executives of the past decade. He wound up his career by creating the Ponder Group, which has worked to implement massive education reforms which were put in place in the New York public schools. When you look at Ron's resume and see what he has accomplished, you have to be amazed. And if you want to go to Wikipedia and look it up, it wasn't put there by Ron, it was put there by his employees that worked with him at AT&T. That a young man who grew up in the small community of Western Arkansas, learning business from his granddad, could have accomplished all this is truly amazing. Mr. Bill Cameron, who taught Ron so much, would certainly be proud of his grandson and all that he has accomplished. Ron Ponder is a great example for all of our students at Southern Arkansas University, and I believe for Americans everywhere. Ron regrets that he was not able to be here today. He's got some health issues that prevent him from traveling. But he wants you to know how honored he is to be selected. But I'll tell you, it would be best if he just said that himself.
Well, as Dr. Rankin said, Ron Ponder couldn't be here today, but he did send a short video accepting today's award.
I want to thank you for choosing me to be a part of the Hall of Fame ceremonies at the Rankin College of Business. I'm deeply honored. I want to thank Dr. Srantz, her associates, and staff for all of their hard work in creating and working on this event. This is a wonderful tradition that they're beginning, and I am so thrilled to be a part of it. Thank you so much. Moreover, this event has special meaning for me in the sense that I'm on the program also with Mr. Lewis Blanchard and People's Bank. As we all know, Lewis Blanchard was an institution here at this university. A loved man, a great influence on all of us, a great supporter, and a wonderful teacher. Mr. Blanchard knew when to push, he knew when to pull, he knew when to give that exact right word of encouragement, and you always listened to his words of motivation. We will all miss him, and he was such an ambassador for our university. People's Bank, their support goes back as long as I can remember. Being a resident of Magnolia, I knew People's Bank long before I was a student at Southern State. So as a former student, I appreciate their support very much. And today, I would be seriously remiss if I didn't mention several former professors who really have to share this honor with me today. I'd like to start with Mr. Bruce Bevins, the former Dean of the College of Business. During those years I was there, from 1961 to 1965. Mr. Bevins was a great leader. He assembled a wonderful faculty. He was very supportive of the students and always had his door open. And there was Mr. Scott Boaz, a wonderful teacher and quite an inspiration to me. There was Mr. Calloway, Mr. Samuels, Mr. Blanchard, of course, and all across the university, so many wonderful, talented, and supportive people. George Sixby, head of humanities, Dr. Betty Blue, languages, Mr. Dotson, Mr. Smart in chemistry, Mr. Childs, agriculture, Mr. Root in engineering, Mr. Calvin Wedsey in mathematics, who also tried to teach me calculus and did a fairly good job. All of these people gave such great support and leadership and mentorship to us as students, and they're all responsible for us being here today. And this even extended literally to the neighborhood, in the sense that my next door neighbor was Mr. Oliver, who was head of the Department of Music, as well as the band director. And I happened to mow his yard every week. Behind us lived Catherine Brown, who was head of the physical education department, and her husband, Ivan, who was in the School of Engineering, and who often gave me rides to school. So we had a community, we had a group of people and a university that seemed virtually seamless to me. I didn't know where one ended and the other began. And what that gave us in Magnolia and at Southern Arkansas University, it gave us a seamless community of very dedicated people for learning and support. And I think that's what gave all of our students, including myself, a great leg up on this world. So I thank you again, Dr. Strantz. I thank the Rankin College of Business, and I thank the university for this great honor.